In today's video, I would like to do something quite funky and unconventional. I went ahead on eBay and I bought this brand new old GoPro action camera called GoPro Hero 35mm, which is the first ever commercially viable action camera on the market. Why the hell have I paid $50 for this analog camera that cannot record video and take only photos? Well, the reason I bought this camera is not to tell you about its awesome specs or technical capabilities. The reason I spent $50 on this camera is to tell you a story, and there is a very interesting story behind this camera, so let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was this young entrepreneur called Nick Woodman. Like most of the entrepreneurial souls out there, his obsession was to create the next big thing. But there was a tiny problem. He had a motivation but lacked the idea. With an unsuccessful business attempt after the graduation behind him, Nick felt depressed. He was in his bed for 6 months just doing nothing, waking up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, looking at the ceiling and thinking, what am I gonna do? He finally decided there is no point in sitting around doing nothing. He needed a change, a fresh start. The only way to get out of this terrible mundane was to do something he loved. So Nick decided to go surfing. Idea was to go on a trip through Indonesian and Australian coast with friends and just have fun. Fresh air and the new environment should be the spark to get his creative juices flowing. But the inspiration he was desperately looking for came before he even packed. Being a profound surfer, Woodman wanted to capture photos of him while surfing, of course. He realized that cameras he had were too complicated and hard to operate while surfing in the open sea. That is why he wanted to mount a non-reusable waterproof camera onto his wrist, which will allow him to take quick photos. However, there was this little problem. These cameras were impossible to mount on his wrist. Obviously, camera required some sort of a strap. Strap had to be flexible and easy to operate in extreme situations like surfing. Because there was no such product out there, Nick had to create something himself. So he created this do-it-yourself strap that was able to hold his camera, and this is how the strap looked. And that is when his aha moment came. Jesus Christ, these straps can be patented and sold. God knows how many surfers out there want to have this exact setup. And here is the important part. While most people believe that GoPro started by making cameras right away, that is not true. Their first product was actually this cinch strap, later named Ultimate Camera Strap. So Nick borrowed his mom's sewing machine and started making these straps. Later on, he realized that the strap was not the only problem. Bigger problem was the camera. The recording device had to be rigged and compact and waterproof, but most of the cameras he tried to attach to his strap either fell apart or broke down. It took him almost 2 years of going to different camera trade shows to finally find a compatible camera. It was an analog 35mm camera with a film inside, made by Chinese manufacturer. Camera was cheap enough, durable and lightweight, but even with all that pros, it required modification in order to be mounted on Nick's Ultimate Camera Strap. One of the problems was communication with manufacturer because none of these guys knew English. Eventually, Nick managed to send them $5,000 for mold creation, and this is how GoPro Hero 35mm was born. GoPro Hero 35mm is the first ever commercially viable action camera. Product was on sale between 2004 and 2006. Its retail price was around $20. And what is interesting is that the camera itself without accessories costed only $3 to produce in China. The company was initially called Woodman Labs, but later on they changed the name to a GoPro. If you want to find out why GoPro is named GoPro, I will leave a link in the description of the video where you can read my article. Okay, let's now take a look at this camera, but first I would like to tell you some fun facts about GoPro and the camera itself. First fun fact is that Nick Woodman, the GoPro CEO, appears as a model on both camera, box and manual. This camera here was the first ever GoPro, and it would require 35mm film in order to work. Camera could only capture still images but not the video, and its operation was completely mechanical and required no batteries. Camera itself is waterproof out to 15 feet in the water thanks to this waterproof housing. And the camera can capture 24 photos on the film, which later need to be developed. You can also use both black and white film with it. So here is what's inside of the first ever GoPro, sold nearly a decade ago. So you get a reusable 35mm camera preloaded with a film, polycarbonate waterproof housing, the ultimate strap, ski glove adapter lash, and 2 manuals, one on English and the other on French. Once you open the box, camera itself is inside the waterproof housing and already attached to a ultimate strap. Case has 2 closure bucklets on the bottom and on the side that you need to lift in order to pull the analog camera out. I already mentioned that camera has no batteries and operates completely like a mechanical device. It has 28mm focus-free lens on the front, a viewfinder and a film compartment on the back. On top of the camera there is a shutter button and a film rewinder. Camera comes with the preloaded film inside, and in order to take photos you just need to click on the shutter button on top. Okay, but here is the trick. When you want to take an image, you need to rewind the film by rolling the wheel on the right side. So you take the image, then you need to rewind the film, and that's all. You can take the next image. Once you cannot rewind film anymore, it means that it's time for a new photo. Once you manage to get all 24 photos, you are done. You need to rewind the entire film in clockwise direction by lifting this rewind wheel on the top and rewinding it. So that's basically how this camera works. And I also have the manual for this camera, which was impossible to find online. So I scanned it and you can download it if you want just to take a look at how the first GoPro worked. So as you can see, it was just a basic 35mm analog camera, nothing too technical, nothing groundbreaking for that time. It was a very simple idea, a very simple concept made by the man who had a passion to create something different, and he managed to do it. Even though this camera was not the huge deal that made the GoPro rich and action cameras popular, it was the first camera intended for extreme sport use, and it is how all began. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to find out more about this camera, I wrote an article on it and you can take a look. I will put the link in the description. And I hope you understand that the whole point of this video is not me showcasing this camera and its awesome capabilities. I just wanted to tell you a story about idea, pursuing dreams and entrepreneurship. And at the same time pay tribute to the camera which made it all happen. So if this story inspired you to do something, go create something or pursue your dreams, then it was well worth the $36 plus $70 shipping to Europe. It certainly inspired me. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.